Hi guys, got a long overdue mail call, and I want to show you these the various minerals that I collected while I was down on my road trip into the U.S. I'm going to start from the left-hand side here, and I call this my jelly bean jasper because it looks like a whole bunch of jelly beans all stuck together. This was is what's called a hydrothermal breccia, where these little brown fragments are actually pieces of limestone that have been exploded by the liquid moving through them. And the quartz crystals are actually growing out in little needles perpendicular to the internal grain. And this has gold in it. It's a beautiful texture. And the rock, when you see it on surface, when it weathers, it looks exactly like a whole bunch of jelly beans all squished together. So that's pretty cool. This one runs about 6 grams per ton. I've got this also. This is another piece of jasper, and this runs 1/4 ounce per ton gold. I suspect most of the gold is in these little white quartz veinlets that are moving through it. But Doug Odette and group down at the Apache Junction Rock and Gem Club were kind enough to cut this for me, and that one and the previous one. So that's a nice little specimen we got. I've got a lot of this stuff was gifted to me from Doug Odette, and some of it was stuff that I found in the field. Here's a nice piece of slab petrified wood, and you can actually see the rings in the tree. How cool is that? That's a nice piece, a beautiful piece. You can't see it quite so much in that light when it's polished, but it's really beautiful. In terms of mail call stuff, I got, like I say, long overdue. This is from Jeff with Adventures for Goat. He sent me some great stickers and a pair of 3855 Winchester Repeating Arms Company shells. And he says they used to stomp on the ends so that the outlaws and the Indians couldn't reload them and use them back against them. So it's neat. I did a bit of research on it, and Winchester actually still makes these cartridges. But with the smokeless powder, they've given them a different name so that people don't try shooting them out of the historical firearms and blow up in their face. Jeff, I'm sorry I didn't put one of your stickers on my truck. I forgot about those, but I went for breakfast with Jeff the other day, and he says, wow, there's one of my stickers, and I didn't catch on at the time. Here's Brockton Magnet Fishing. Sent me up some stickers. He sent me that's my first channel poker chip I've ever received, and this nice 24 karat $100 bill. That's pretty awesome. I'll keep that somewhere safe. That's a beautiful thing. Getting back to the minerals, we've got this is called candy cane agate. As you can see from the colors, there's red, there's blues, there's kind of orange and green, all the colors you'd see on a candy cane. This is a rough piece. That's what it looks like on the weathered surface. And that's a fresh cracked surface. That would be beautiful if it was polished up. And we've got a nice rough piece of Mexican crazy lace agate. It's also a gift from Doug Odette. Much appreciated and great addition to my collection. But you can see there's all kinds of vugs and druzy texture here and there. And these just a million little tiny layers of reds and whites and everything else all mixed in together. That, you know, if it was slabbed or cabochoned, it would look absolutely beautiful. That's a nice piece. This one here is not nearly as beautiful, but the really cool thing about it, it's a jasper, but it comes from Australia. And all of these little green dots that you see were actually generated by microbes. So this is like a bacterial almost. It's an organic form of jasper, which is really cool. And one of the guys was in there cutting it, and he gave me that little slice at the Rock and Gem Club. Here's a piece of volcanic breccia that I got down on the property. And the cool thing about this is that this is the limestone from underneath the surface, about sort of 300 meters down. And these chunks of limestone actually run about 1/4 of an ounce per ton gold. And so there's probably a skarn deposit, S-K-A-R-N, you can Google that, down at depth. And when the explosive hydrothermal fluids came through, they actually picked up these fragments and brought them to surface in the vein. And so that's definitely something that a company down the line can probably mine. We've got, here's a piece of onyx, which doesn't look really great when it's in the rough, but of course onyx, once it's polished up, is a beautiful semi-precious stone and set into rings and stuff like that, and it's nice, very black and white. Doug had these massive pieces of it. It was humongous. One of the cooler pieces I got from Doug is this is a relatively recent piece of basalt, but it's covered in peridot and or olivine, and these big vugs within the basalt are filled with these olivine crystals, peridot. So I asked him for a small piece if I could have it. So that's a great addition to my collection. That stuff does not survive outside of arid environments, because as soon as water gets to it, it breaks down really, really fast. I got a neat little sample of chalcedony where you can see drips have been falling for ages, and it just I thought that was kind of cool. It's just a neat little piece of chalcedony there. And Doug and I, you might have seen a previous video of mine, but we were out looking for rose quartz. So here's a nice specimen of rose quartz that I've got for my collection. That was the first time in my life, 32 years being a geologist, that was the first time in my life I've ever found rose quartz in situ in nature. So that was a nice first for me. We got, some fluorite, and this brownish greenish mineral at first confused me, because you can see here it's columnar and prismatic, and I didn't think that was fluorite. But when we hit it with a UV light afterwards, it fluoresced a deep purple color, which is what you would expect from fluorite. So so obviously it's fluorite. I hit it with some acid and it fizzed like carbonate, but it's not. It must have just been an acid dust, or a carbonate dust on the rock itself. This is just a little quartz slab. I don't know if you can see, there's about a zillion little teeny tiny terminations on there that sparkle like the sun. And but I think the coolest part of this is it's attached to a piece of the limestone, and this is from the Earp Formation, named after Wyatt Earp. So I just thought that was kind of cool to have. One of the neatest pieces I got down there is this one. This is an Apache tier. It's obsidian, and as you can see, it's it's teardrop shaped. And it's teardrop shaped because it got spat out of the volcano as a liquid chunk and went flying through the air. And this particular one has 3 flat sides on it. A big flat side, a medium-sized flat side, and then a very small flat side. And so what I think happened was this thing came flying out of the volcano, liquid. It hit the ground while it was still liquid enough that it made a big flat side. And then in the seconds it took to bounce as it was cooling, it hit again a little softer, more gently, made a smaller flat side, and then finally landed on this side and then ended up rolling down the volcano. So that's a super cool specimen of Apache tear obsidian. We hit it with a light and it was kind of brown on the inside. That's really cool. Before we get to the really awesome piece, I just want to share. This comes from I.M. Zaxon. He sent me a nice letter and a couple of his engraved aluminum business cards, which I think is a really cool idea. Well, it's got some tape on it. But thank you very much, Zaxon, for that. That's awesome. And then this is the best piece that I found while I was out there. And we're right up at the top end of the epithermal, which means close to surface, gold deposit. And this is all fluorite. And you've got purple fluorite through here, and in this light it's a little hard to see, but this is all kind of a green, mossy fluorite that's growing in there. And there's the end of it. Oh my gosh, it's purple. As soon as I looked at it, I thought it was amethyst, and but it's not. And here's the weathered surface where it was sticking out of the outcrop, and you can see all these beautiful terminations here. So I'm going to hit this with some iron out, and see if I can't dissolve some of that and make the exposed surface look a little prettier. But that's a honking chunk of fluorite. And Doug and his folks there at the Rock Club, they were pretty impressed with that. Now they all want to go out to that ranch. It's a private land, so we'll have to get them permission to get out there, but they all want to go and get some. So at any rate, it was a great trip. 7,000 kilometers, 4,000 something miles worth of driving, and met some great people. Spent time with Jim Asakura and Jeff Mays, Adventures with Goat, and a couple of days with Doug and Sandy Odette, and wonderful people all, and I had a great time while I was down there, and look forward to getting down that way again.